Welcome back to the program. Good morning, Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. So let's begin our conversation on issues in Edo State governorship election campaigns, which are on at the moment. Let's listen to the background report put together for us by our correspondent Joseph Otseng.
The clock is ticking for the 2024 Edo Global Poll, scheduled for September. 17 candidates, among them one female from 17 registered political parties, as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), are already campaigning to woo the support of the electorate. Campaigns for the seat of power started April 24, 2024, and will end midnight September 19, 2024, 24 hours before the date fixed for the elections as provided by the law. Meanwhile, many wait to see whether the face-off between the state governor, Godwin Obaseki, and his former deputy, Philip Shuaibu, will have any impact on the crusade and outcome of the election. On the other hand, the All Progressives Congress, APC, and other political parties are hoping to take advantage of the situation to make an inroad into the government house. INEC says the door for any eligible voter to participate in the election is wide open as it resumes continuous voter registration in Edo and Ondo states from May 27th and will stop by June 5th, 2024.
From 9 in the morning to 3 p.m. daily, including the weekend. There will be no online pre-registration option in the two states because of time constraint. Again, we encourage those who have not collected their PVCs in the two states to seize the opportunity to do so.
The Commission also states that 76,823 polling units have been captured for the exercise, as it reminds political parties of the need to adhere strictly to the timeline for the upload of the list of polling and collection agents to the dedicated portal to enable the Commission to produce and deliver the identity cards in good time. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu at the second regular quarterly consultative meeting with political parties in Abuja appeals to party leaders to ensure law and order during the electioneering process and beyond. Indeed, the nation's electoral body is preparing hard, while the political gladiators are also drumming to their manifestos for the electorate to dance. What then are the critical issues that would define the outcome of the Edo Global Poll? How well are the campaigns so far? What about issues surrounding inclusivity, especially provision of assistive devices for persons with disabilities? These and other related issues will engage guests on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, Joseph Olsen, for that background report. Now joining us to discuss issues in Edo State governorship election campaigns, let me introduce in the studio Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Hamisu. He's the political economist and public affairs analyst. Dr. Hamisu, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay.
And also with us here in the studio, we have Chibike Mbahorike, and he's an elections consultant. Mr. Mbahorike, thank you very much for joining us.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes. And also joining us from Benin City, that's the capital of Edo State, via Zoom, we have Dr. Osaoru Okonzwa, who is a family affairs and a public affairs analyst. We are glad you could join us for this very crucial discussion on Edo governorship elections.
Good morning to you and our compatriots across the country.
Okay, let's stay with Dr. Okonzwa so that he can tell us the atmosphere in Edo State right now. What is the situation like right now in Edo State?
Well, the arousal is progressing towards a climax. We know it's electoral season. We know we are going to choose a governor on the 21st day of September this very year. The political parties are mobilizing. The voting public, too, is paying attention. So I think we are in the mood. We know that The election is going to be important. We are going to be choosing those, the particular person and his running mate who pilot our affairs for another 4 years between November 13th this year and then November 12th, 4 years later. So I think we are getting ready.
What do you think is characterizing the campaigns at the moment? Campaigns are already on, and of course, usually we see the contestants or candidates, if you may, going around with their supporters, drumming, dancing, of course, fanning the usual political nuances and all that. So, what is the character of the campaign? Is there anything new, or are we still on the old track?
We are on the old track because Edo is a progressive state. We are a subset of the old Midwest, subset of the old Western region. Our aspirations are definitely developmental in nature. So people are listening to the political parties, their candidates, and see what they are going to offer down the road. And from all indications, the election is going to be very close. If the election held today, the winner that is going to emerge will be propelled into office by the slimmest of margins. So, and of course, the voters there are very, very conscious. They are very sentient. So we expect them to sift through all the issues. And development will vary from how many of our children are in school, what infrastructure do we have to support them, the teacher education, the quality, the quantity, our healthcare facilities, our roads, and so on. Those are the issues that are dominant here, and it's a good thing for us because we are focusing on tangible issues. And as a matter of fact, one of the leading candidates has actually called for issue-based campaign. So I think Edo is ahead, and there will be an example again to the wider nation.
Dr. Konzwa, I asked if the campaigns, are still treading the old track. And the old track, the nature that our campaigns, the character that our political campaigns normally, take. And you said yes, but from your expanding your response, didn't give us that indication.
No, but I just told you that here our temper is progressive, so we are along the same track. Okay. Edo is well known. Okay. The voters here are very sophisticated and they're listening to the issues. So we have never deviated from it, right from our inheritance from the Western region. We look for good governance, we look for the good things of life, amenities to support good living, make those states habitable. Those are the things we are about.
Okay, Dr. Okozo, thank you. Now let's come back to the studio now. Dr. Amisu, well, just like he said, that the election this time around will be very stiff. We have the sitting governor, who is the PDP, and the main opposition party, where the APC. Then we also have the Labour Party as well, who is also making headway, like other parties as well. So what do you think is going to be like this time around in Edo State?
Well, political activities and mobilization towards voting for a particular candidate in an election, especially in third world countries, are really unpredictable. And it is based on what we've seen in what we hope not to see as we continue this journey. We started from a premise, and the premise was rigged elections where people sell their votes, to where some persons are saying we will no longer sell our votes. We want development, we want our children to go to school, we want jobs, and those set of persons change the electoral landscape of Nigeria. Don't forget the fact that Edo State was a PDP state from 1999 until Adams Oshomole showed up. And at that particular point in time, a lot of persons felt it's going to be a Herculean task, that it was going nowhere because he doesn't have the money to compete. But he was able to conscientize the people of Edo State, he was able to mobilize, and the election held. Though PDP was declared as the winner, he went to court. And after long court cases and battle, he emerged victorious. But it was not Oshomole that emerged victorious. It was the people of Edo State that emerged victorious because they wanted a shift from Edo State that was left behind, a shift from a poverty-stricken state with no good road networks, where you have street fights, stealings, and everything. At a point when Adams Oshomole showed up in Edo State, once it rained, you can't use the Apapova end of the road because it will be so flooded that no vehicle will be able to pass. And what did he do? Since he knew that he's a product of the people, he couldn't have disappointed the people. So he started with infrastructure. Then the most expensive thing in Edo State was education. Public schools were not working. Private schools were literally milking the people. If you travel to Edo State and you ride in any cab, the next conversation would be how, as a breadwinner of my family, I'm struggling to gather work fee for my child. And now what did he do? He reformed the educational sector. And that led to a situation whereby the people of Edo State became independent in their thought. And when he was leaving, he wanted somebody else to take over. But what did the people do? They said, no, this is the person we want. That shows you that independent-minded nature of the people of Edo State. And that is the kind of thing that I want to see in this election, that they reserve the right.
But actually, I mean, APC won when Oshomole was leaving.
Yes, but when there was a crisis.
That was just crisis.
Yes,
not that there was a continuation.
When the sorry for maybe I needed to
yes,
kind of
yes.
break it down the way you you pointed.
Yes.
Now they voted for the continuity of the party because they believe in what it's doing.
Good.
And they are benefiting from it. Well, when it came to the point that the people needed to decide either to compromise their independence and then subsume it under a godfather that is emerging, or maintaining their independence to continue to take their decision, they opted to remain independent. That independence that made them to elect Adams Oshomole was the same reason they decided to vote for his deputy that he praised. You know, he said if he is the hardware, that his deputy then was the software. That is the current governor. And it was on that he sold the idea to the people that, look, if you want to enjoy, or if you want to continue to enjoy what you've been enjoying, you have to support this man. And they did. But when he came back to say the same person that they defeated collectively together with his deputy, they said, no, we want to continue. You place out on this. So what I want to see in this election, this election should not be defined by, okay, Edo South has produced governor, Edo North must produce, Edo East must produce. You know, that is what has been killing us. Even if you want to zone and vote for competent persons that have solutions.
But that seems to be playing out now.
Yes.
We'll get to that.
Yes.
We'll get to that. I wanted us to really establish the character and nature of the campaigns that are going on at the moment. Because once we're able to do that, then we'll now look at the issues that will probably or should probably drive the campaigns. And that's why I want to bring Mr. Mbeahorike. I don't know what you're reading. You're not in Edo State, but I'm sure as an election consultant, you have your ears to the ground. What are you reading in, from the campaign trains in terms of messaging?
Okay, first of all, let me just say I am from CDD, Center for Democracy and Development.
Okay.
Yeah, that was not mentioned. Thank you for the question. I still remember the question you asked the man from Edo, whether we are still on the old track. He didn't quite, do justice to it. But I know what we are talking about is, the kind of campaign we usually, see over the years, and that's what I do not want to see this time around. On what should characterize the campaign, for me, of course, campaigns, the only reason for campaigns is for people to make themselves public, go before the public, convince them, sell yourself, build momentum towards election, deploy whatever it is that is legitimate to win the mind of the voters and all of that. So what should be characterizing the, of course I know prior to this time there has been a number of controversies. You've just mentioned what you don't want to see. You don't want it to be defined by zoning or this from that. But I tell you that it's going to come to play, because I know that Edo Central has been feeling very far removed from the center and all of that. So those things will come to play. But majorly, campaigns is a period to really speak to the people, the electorate. I mean, what we don't want to see is this usual, it cannot be business as usual. I mean, if you're a Nigerian who have been focusing on election, you know that a candidate, an incumbent will always come with somebody who he prefers. And at the end of the day, he wins. I feel very, very bad about it. Because the electorate are no longer in the equation. And the electorate are supposed to be at the center of who becomes who at the elections. And that means the candidates should have the ample time to communicate squarely to the electorate, sell themselves. It's no longer a dancing spree. It's no longer, I don't know whether there's going to be a debate, but I think it's going to be between the candidates and the electorate. And the one thing I like what he said is the independent minded electorate.
People, yeah.
And that's what we want to see more. I mean, over the years, 1999, it has not really worked in our favor. Electorates seem to tailor towards who have what to offer. And that's not it. I think we should understand the connection between the vote you have in your hand and good governance. We should be able to connect it with what we have been lacking over the years. Since 1999, for God's sake, what we have been presenting before the electorate is no more than 5 items. Good roads, medics, transport, and where are all of these? Since 1999. How I wish the politicians are actually doing what is expected of them. And you can imagine where Nigeria will be today. So, since 1999, it has been dance and spray. It has been, glamour. I mean, no deliveries. And that is serious, really.
Well, Mr. Chibuke, thank you so much. It's been dancing spray, since 1999. So
that's why I asked if you're reading, something different, from these campaigns at the moment.
Exactly.
In terms of messaging,
exactly.
I hope the messaging is not lost on the people.
Okay, so if you look at the caliber of people who are presenting themselves this time around and the manner they all emerged, and given the fact that Labour is also in the mix now, and we also know how Labour performed during the presidential election, so the messaging is not going to be ambiguous. It has to be direct. It cannot be buried in phrases and all of that. You must connect us, let us know what your mindset is about. What is it about? I do not think it's more about water and the road this time around, because since 1999 that has not been done. It is where do you put the electorate, the people? Where are they in our democracy? I mean, it's not just about a period before election. Shortly after election, what becomes of the same people you are going to? I mean, we should have learned a lot of lessons. The messaging this time around is not like, I'm going to bring you water, I'm going to bring you good roads, I'm going to bring you... You have not done that over the years. What it is now is,
what you've done, you should tell us what you've done.
What you've done even before you came into politics, that should be able to,
the should be able that you have impacted.
Exactly, because let's say we are fond of putting American jurisdiction. The issue is people start out by serving the communities, serving the public cause in other areas, not necessarily. That is to project you positively before the people. So even before you present yourself as a politician, people already know you have been, working for their cause. But this time around, somebody will come from nowhere. A godfather will pick you and present you. There have been situations we see that whether you can even communicate in a local language, I don't know. There are issues like that where if you have your way, you want to skip the electorate and make it to the government house. That's not what it is. The messaging should be straightforward. Tell us what you want to offer beyond the myriads of promises over the years that are nowhere to be found. Because the people are not interested in your water and your this that cannot see, then can you give them a quality kind of life? And I think the only answer to that is very quality education. You mentioned about champ or whatever. Can you change the situation? The reading. I don't know the performance, profile of the WAEC and JAMB and all of those things. Focus on the ones that are coming up. not the old people that have been there. Even the so-called statesmen we have, the statesmen has linkage to the coming election, not necessarily to the coming generation. So we know all of this, and I think the people should dig deeper. Dig deeper. You must be able to interact. It's not like you drop it there and nobody has access to you to see how you're responding to people's questions. Make yourself available. Let them scrutinize you. Let them hear you say, look, this is the state of education before I came in. This is where I intend to take it. This is a state of civic duties. I mean, do people understand their essence in the democracy? Or you making people, you want to make people more ignorant so that they won't be able to question you where necessary or interrogate you where necessary. So governance should not be buried in, it should be clear to the people, because it is about the people.
Yeah, okay.
It cannot be anything outside the people. It is no longer democracy.
Okay, anything outside the people is no longer democracy.
It
is about the people. Let's go back to Dr. Okonzua now. Okonzua. Dr. Okonzua, tell us what exactly is the narrative right now in Edo State. Is it the usual intrigues that we normally have during the election? For instance, like already now we know that the governor has his own candidate. APC, big strong man too, has his own candidate. LP also has his own candidate. Does the people really have a say in who is going to become the next president? I mean, the next governor in Edo State right now? Because we want to, depart from the old ways and let people have a say in who is going to govern them. What exactly is the situation right now?
I'm not really comfortable with this issue of deviating from the old ways, especially talking about Edo State. I have insisted on many occasions that in terms of democracy in this country, people from this part have actually contributed, not just in our locality, for the entire country. This is the home state of Anthony Naho, for instance. You know what he did for Nigerian independence and so on and so forth, and others who have come after him. Even leadership of different political parties. We have, Edo State has supplied a chairman for different political parties and so on. So the journey of Nigeria also includes the journey of Edo State. So we have a very enviable tradition here, and Edo voters are usually very much alert. And if we're drawing a curve, we'll probably be ahead of our sub-national peers across the country. So we have a tradition to maintain, and that tradition will also find expression come September 21st this very year. That is my point. So talking about placing the electorate right at the center, we have always been. You talked about the distortion that happened between Professor Osumbo's election and the coming of Adasam Shomole. That happened in Edo State because people felt the will of the people was not respected. The candidate and the political party of that time went to court, and the court upheld their claims. So that happened in Edo State. So that means if you are talking about democracy in this country, as far as the sub-nationalities are concerned, Edo State is a bastion of democracy here. And come September 21st again, Edo State will be a very useful laboratory for the whole country. You watch out again. This time 4 years ago, for instance, there was apprehension, there would be violence and so on, but the matter was resolved. A clear winner emerged. So I think in this instance, I would ask the entire nation to look up to Edo to see what the examples would be. It's a standalone election, agreed, but examples can be quarried from us still. And the elections are already on. The three dominant political parties have selected flag bearers that you can say are credible. The governing party has selected a man who is well-bred in the boardroom politics and so on, and he's well-calibrated. The other political party, the main opposition party in our locality here, has a senator. And if you presume the quality of senatorial districts, it means the candidate already has a third of the state supporting him. So, and the other gentleman who once headed our bar association at the federal level is also, for those who know him intimately, also say he's fit to be governor. And don't forget that these three gentlemen have a very high clearance over the minimum standards to be governor. If you look at our constitution, the requirements to be governor is very, very modest. So these three gentlemen are above those requirements, and I believe they will do their state proud, whoever emerges amongst them. Of course, we have some 13, 14 others too. they also have an opportunity to prove their mettle during the election. So I believe Edo has a lot of examples to supply to the country, and Edo will prove it in September as well. The elections are on, some 4 months to go before the elections are ahead, and you're going to see what is going to happen. The issues are already being drummed up. You're talking about rotation to one senatorial district or the other. The political parties have largely solved that because we also believe in equity in Edo State. So I believe the nation will see Edo State shine come 21st of September this year.
Dr. Kanzwa, thank you. Thank you for the points you've raised. About you kept on saying election. The election is not until September. I think this is you meant the campaigns actually, but we really understand the point you're making, and the guests here in the studio have also espoused the point that Edo people have always been resolute with their thoughts. But this particular upcoming election is proving to be somewhat, different from the regular elections that have been conducted in Edo State. Now, if you look at all the candidates that represent the tribes that make up the principal population in Edo State, if you look at the candidates representing them, in terms of administration at the public administration, I don't know how many of them have really held that. But you also look at the internal issues that afflict the parties, all the parties, the main parties. You look at the senatorial district that's also tearing them. Are you saying that perhaps these factors will not come into play in deciding who clinches the ticket?
Well, I wouldn't know the exact factors you are referring to, and I wouldn't know exactly how you feel our campaign currently is different from the previous ones.
Sorry, I've just mentioned to you the internal issues that the different parties would have to resolve. You and I know that at the moment, the LP has its own internal issues. The PDP has, the APC have, in fact, all the major parties have their issues at the moment. We also know that between the Benis, the ESA, and the other, group, this one says, it's our turn, it's my turn, it's my turn. Are you saying these are not factors to really watch out in this election?
Well, talking about the weakness of our political parties, that's not a problem peculiar to Edo State. Our party system is still very fragile. That's a different matter for a different day, I should think. Then we're talking about the issue of equity, whether the particular office, in this instance, the governorship, to go to any part of the country. I think most people are very receptive to that. Two of the dominant political parties have selected their candidates from Edo Central. So that's an indication that Edo people are conscious of making sure everybody has access to the higher piece of the land. And as a matter of fact, this has been said many times. Edo State is very, very homogeneous, really. It's just the structure of Nigeria that has actually partitioned us into senatorial districts. That is very clear. We have a very strong sense of kinship here. So whether it's Edo Central, Edo South, or Edo North is actually immaterial to us. What we are talking about now is good governance. And for me, I believe the political parties have selected their best. So that is an eternal matter. And as we build up to the election, let us hear more and more of what they are going to do for us, because the election is more about the future, even as some sentiments will flow from the past in determining who the governor will be. And I believe for the three major candidates, subject to upset from the remaining 13, I think Edo would not be held on by if any of these three became governor of Edo State.
Thank you very much, Dr. Okuzwa. Well, for your contribution there. Let's come back to the studio. Dr. Amisu. Now, we have talked about the issue of the need for this campaign to be issue-based and all that. So, what do you think the people should be looking, out for during this campaign? What should be their focus in picking the candidate of their choice? Besides, what Mr. Chibuke said the other time, besides the issue of build road, build schools, those ones are just rhetorics. But what should they look out for right now, in this campaign?
Yeah, those issues cannot be wished away because it's about winning, and that is why we have rigging during the elections. Those that knew that based on issues, based on competency, based on their strategies, they will not be able to win, they resort to the other plan B, which is to rig the process. It's about competition for power, to occupy government house, to decide who gets what from the state purse. Some persons are contesting this election not because they have anything to offer. They believe they have the resources and they are just qualified as Nigerians to... for me, what the people ought to be looking at for should be competence. Somebody that possesses the capacity to solve problems. In these problems, cut across all the facets of human endeavor and life. So, for instance, somebody is coming to tell you that he's going to build roads. For me, that is a red flag for me. And even at the national level, that has been my words. You are not building people that will build roads. You want to build roads. So who will build the roads? Contractors, 10%, 20%. This is how we are frittering away. With due respect to all the governors, when you go to Kano State, for instance, and you see the road network, even if they are not the one that is building the road, you come to understand the fact that these persons that brought this very particular idea knew the terrain very well, and they knew how to solve the problem of traffic. And that was why they are able to do that. So it means they have competent engineers. Well, what is happening in Nigeria? Somebody will come and tell you, dancing before the camera, and say this election is over. We are going to win landslide. We are going to win moonslide. We are moving train. It's either you jump in or we crush you. And that is a disdain for the voters themselves. And because the voters themselves don't even know their powers, they succumb. And some of them will not even go out to vote, believing that even if we vote the right person, they will not give. What are they? It is you. And that is why what Cecilia said, the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. If they know that you are timid, you are intimidated already, then what do? They intimidate you the more. And you become frightened, and then you leave and they write the result. And that is why Nigerians were able to revolt tactically, to say, look, we don't. And now, when Adams Oshiomhole contested that election, he was not a professor. He was not a PhD holder, not an MSc holder. He was a labor man from the trenches who contested against a professor. And he came to Edo State. He changed the face of education in Edo State. Problems that could not be solved for more than 8 years, he was able to turn the educational system around. I'm particular about this because I know the importance of education. That is what I'm doing. This position I'm sitting today was made possible because I was given education. And that is why I could reason, I could contribute to national issues, I could contribute to international issues. So when you have a candidate that have capacity to solve a problem and has demonstrated that capacity over time, as he said, as an MBA person, what were the reforms during your time? Was it, this is how it has been done, this is how they used to do it? I was telling somebody, the person is a politician, I said, if I hire you as SA, and I said, what can we do to solve this problem? I said, oh God, no go there, because it's going to generate a lot of issues. Then I now said, okay, why can't we do it this way? You know, I said, no, oh God, no, so they do. You are going to ruffle a lot of shoulders. Let us do it the way they be doing it. I will sack you that moment. They be doing it like that and they are failing. And then you want me to repeat the same thing so that I will fail too. I said, no, I cannot use state money to pay you. I will sack you. Now, in reforming things, in solving problems, you are going to ruffle a lot of feathers. If you can't do that, then there will be no changes. So if somebody comes to you in the name of tribe, I beg your pardon, are you taking tribe to enter transportation and pay whatever, or go to market and buy anything? But if you have somebody who is not your tribe and the person comes and do the major roads in Edo State, you can move your goods from one part to another. Let's say it takes you 2 hours to travel, let's say from Esako Central to Auchi, and then you have somebody that believes that if we could do simple rural roads to facilitate businesses, then Edo people will prosper, and you vote that person, and the person was able to do that road, then it takes you like 30 minutes, and it costs you less to move your goods from Esako Central to Auchi. I think that is the person you need. Not because it's my tribe, not because it's our turn. Of course, we are not saying that people should not use it as a campaign tool, but that the people should be smart enough to see through the veneer, to say that, look, what we want is somebody that will listen to us and solve our problem, so that it's not, elections don't become what Sekou Toure said. You come and vote on the day of election as a free person, but you return to your homes as a slave, because as soon as you finish voting, the person you voted is no longer your servant, he has become your master. And you, that's supposed to become the master, you are now the slave or the servant. This is not what we want to see going forward.
Dr. Amisu, thank you. And Dr. Okonzwa, and, you know, some of the points that you've all raised point to, you know, the fact that election history has shown Edo people to be resolute. They will do whatever they want to do. But in terms of deepening our democratic value and processes, election campaigns ought to have some character and content. And that's what you were referring to earlier on, that you don't just want to see political candidates go to the campaign grounds and say, I will do this road for you, I will build this road for you. There must be a development schema which they ought to present, you know, to the people in a way that the people will understand it, backed with data. Is that what, can you clarify what you mean by that, so that the people will know and will be better educated when they go out, you know, to embrace these campaigns?
Yeah, thank you. You see, there's something we call global competitiveness, which I'm still hoping one day it will come to the local level, that we begin to look at which among our governors are doing the biddings of the people. We're yet to see, and we lack the minimum standard of delivering good governance in Nigeria, so that since 1999, like I keep going back, is you can't see so much done. I mean, while as democracy has been seen as the best, we are still far away, you know, in an attempt to, you know, ride on the back of democracy to develop ourselves. Now, campaigns is actually offers an opportunity for these candidates whom you never get to see most of the time. You never had the opportunity to engage them one-on-one. Then you begin to expect that during campaigns, you begin to have them sit before you. That's the only time politicians are supposed to go cap in hand, you know, before the electorate, you know, to convince them. How do you convince somebody? You want to, you know, understand the people. What do they want? You know, what do they want? It's not a matter of where did the last government stop, because there's not much to show. You know, the thing is, what can you offer? Are you looking at what governance is providing elsewhere in other jurisdictions? If you cannot find good examples here, do something different. Let me tell you, if they can, I still remember the names of the governors that served 1979 to 83. Mm-hmm. But I doubt if I can remember the name of all the governors. How do that connect? It's because of what people have to offer. You will know them by those deliveries. You know them by their development strides and all of that. For me, why I'm picking on education is because it's one way. If I see an aspiring governor, I will say, okay, where is Edo State in JAMB this year? You know, they always have record of who states perform better and all of that, or WAEC or NEC or whatever it is. Okay, we are number 26 this time around. By the time I get into office, the next time we're going to be number one. Obi keeps saying that, Anambra was so this, when he became governor, became number one. SDGs, we are lacking behind this time around. SDGs is one good indicator in every facet of life. So if you are serious, you can embrace that, because there's no component, no aspect of governance that SDG does not touch. If it is about gender, it is there. It's about environment, it is there. It's education, is there. Everything is, and it is UN. You understand? So that you don't come and be asking us. We don't want supermen for governors. One governors who will read in between the lines. It mustn't be potent in everything. It mustn't be very, we don't want you to be an expert in everything. We want people who identify those who can fill in the gaps where you don't have it. Those who will bring, what are you bringing?
But isn't that what they call their manifestos? Maybe all of this. You've talked about the SDGs. Now they pick, gender equality, we will send your girls to school, we will provide this. And then they pick, maybe some of those indicators.
Exactly.
And then they lump together and then they, compress into manifestos.
Exactly. But the truth is that if you look at, manifesto, we'll keep hearing manifestos. But manifesto is supposed to be a public document. It's something that he can have a bridge version and share with the people if you're really serious. Because we have a duty to also hold them accountable to what they are saying now. We have a duty. It's not like you begin to talk and talk and talk. You must be speaking from what you already have generated, what you think you can offer. We don't expect you to deliver 100%. But for God's sake, there are areas that we're still lagging behind. You say, okay, this place, I notice that the Edo State is far behind this area. I'm going to bring it up to this level. You understand? And we know that governance is a continuum.
And timelines.
It's timelines so that we also measure you. We evaluate you at the end of your 1 year. We always celebrate 100 days in office and all of that. And we have a lot of experience, both at the federal and all of that. And these experiences should guide us as voters. The issue is, like I keep saying, that thing you have in your hand. And by the way, registration will start, CBR will start very shortly. And I'm also envisaging very unpopular, emergence of candidates. Unpopular in the sense that the number of voters that will produce a governor is likely to be very low because of the caliber of people involved and the likelihood of splitting votes here and there. We are going to experience much of that. So the first thing is to encourage Edo people to really go out there and become eligible so that they can vote. So that if we have an ample number to decide who emerges, let us for the first time see if we can have a popular candidate imagine in a popular way. Because when you have, for instance, 70% of the people voting for you at 100%, it is no longer negotiable. You are a popular candidate, and it means people want you. But the important thing is this campaign should no longer be hidden in ambiguity. We must note everything you are saying, one by one, so that midway into the journey, we will begin to evaluate to what extent you have gone. What have you done? Were you singing or were you coming to deliver? Those things. We must learn from what 2023 really. Most of the people who were in high spirits before 2023 can no longer find their voice now. So we also expect that Edo people, if there are areas the current one did not deliver, it offers you opportunity to take up these new ones and say, look, can you do this? And once the answer is yes, hold them accountable to that yes. If indeed yes means yes to them, because our politicians are very slippery. They have oratory powers when it comes to canvassing for votes. But when it's time to deliver, they'll begin to find their manifestos.
That's the issue we have in this country, holding politicians accountable.
You see,
so how do we begin to do that? Because it's really a tough one in this country. A politician will come and say, I will build, mountains, I will make road in the heavens, and at the end of the day, he's not able to deliver on his promises.
That's why I say, that's why I prioritize education, right, and civic education. Once the populace are enlightened enough to know what you're expected to do as a governor, they know how to interrogate you, not how to hold you accountable. But politicians prefer the masses that are ignorant, that are ravaged by hunger, as we have experienced in this time, ravaged by the absence of wealth, ravaged by virtually everything, so that there's no time to actually
classify the electorate in Edo as
okay, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They're enlightened enough. They're politically enlightened.
You see, you can compare Edo to two states in Nigeria, Bauchi and Kano states. These are states that the electorate will tell you are not coming back and you are not coming back. And this is possible because of one thing. Because the people are conscious of the environment. They understand the electoral gimmick of their leaders. And you know, if you've not forgotten, the issue of protecting your vote and protect your vote was started in Bauchi State, where people voted, the votes were counted at the ward level, and the people accompanied. They did not leave it to the care of INEC officials, to the extent that they can go ahead and manipulate the figures.
Yeah.
They accompanied their vote to the collation centers. They remained there for 2-3 days until the authentic result from the wards were. So there is a correlation between the consciousness of the people and the transparency in the electoral process, to the extent that it is free and credible. But where politicians have plan B, and that plan B is about rigging the figures during election, changing the figures, then they become slippery. What they will promise during election will be different. What they will do when they get to office will be different, because the only opportunity the people have to discipline them is during the election. So it is the election that they will use to punish them for not delivering. But if they know that they can rig their way out of such a situation, then they become adamant to the cries of the people. And that is why our elections are becoming a bit competitive. Now, it has moved from rigging election to vote buying, because it is no longer easy to rig election. So they are doing what? They are now prioritizing buying the conscience of the people. But there is another revolution that is going on. People collect the money and still vote for those they want to vote for. So if we maintain this attitude in Nigeria, then there will be development. And that is why if you go to some of these states that have this tradition of disciplining their leaders, to say, there was a candidate in Bauchi State, the people told him, point blank, you are not coming back, and he did not come back. Now, the man they elected is doing a lot. He's not sleeping. He's giving them what they want. And then in Kano, for instance, what has driven Kano's development is this very particular attitude. They will go to Freedom Radio and just tell you, you are not coming back. And then you are not coming back. That is to show that the people are sovereign, and they are always responsible for the kind of development they want to see. If you compromise, you will see compromise. If you do the right things, you will see the right. And that is the beauty of democracy. If you are not performing, give the people opportunity to pass a vote of confidence or no confidence on you. But in our own situation, we deflated that through rigging, intimidation, violence. And then somebody will tell you, don't allow yourself to be rigged. Rig and be taken to court, not you going to court. But all of those nonsense, I think, is beginning to stop. So the people must understand this, and that is why I am saying that that tempo we've seen in Edo State should be maintained. They should allow the politicians to cause disaffection. Using geography, if Edo Central must produce, Edo Central should produce the best from Edo Central, not producing somebody from Edo Central simply because Edo Central needed to be appeased, and then you go and get somebody that will reverse the little gains that have been made because of the fact that it's coming from Edo Central. That is not what I want to see. Even if you want to do zoning, put forward your best so that the entire state can benefit from your best. Not that, okay, because he's a son of the soil and he has gone to Abuja or Lagos and made money, and then you just wake up overnight and convince yourself that it is the turn of Edo Central, and then you went and print your poster, bought a lot of cars, and then you distribute it everywhere. Wherever you go, hey, what will you do for us? Hey, what will you do? Hey, you don't win, you don't win. Then after elections. And then the fundamental problem with that is simply because this person did not even know what to do. He gets into office, he doesn't even know anything about governance. That is torture. Because he will stay at night thinking of what to do. He doesn't know what to do. Then he will come and meet commissioner. Commissioner, what do we do? Commissioner said, by the time they hit roadblock, then commissioner runs back to Oga, and he said, Commissioner, but now you say make we start now. But if you are on top of the situation, you are a problem solver, As soon as your commissioner comes, oh, but sir, this is the problem. Okay, why don't we do it this way? Go do ABC. I think we will overcome the situation. Now, this is the kind of person you need. It's not somebody with PhD.
Somebody that is competent.
No. It's about competence. What you can offer, what you can do. And once the electorate will recognize that, and that is why I brought that comparison between Adams Oshomola and Professor Oshomola that he contested against. He was not a professor, but he presented himself that, look, I'm a labor leader and this is what I can do, and I can do it in Edo State. And he came and he did literally he can do. So I feel if Edo people will continue on this trajectory of recruiting their best to guide the process and then work for them, then even if I go to Edo State, I will be a beneficiary.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Amisu there. Okay, let's bring in Dr. Okuzua now to this discussion, back to the discussion. We're talking about competence now. We're thinking about an individual who can actually perform, not going that it is my zone, it's my turn. So we want to shift from that. But another thing that characterizes campaigns, it's usually violence. People, going to disrupt campaigns or disrupt people. But this time around, it's like the parties, the political parties and their candidates have given their words that they're going to ensure that there is no violence. How do we begin to hold them to their word to ensure that there is no violence in this campaign?
The simple answer to that is law enforcement. If any person violates the law in the name of campaigning or in the name of election, you just treat the person according to what the laws stipulate. That's the answer. Because very often, the way you encourage this thing to become a kind of culture is to look the other way when these offenses are perpetrated. Same thing with the language of the campaign. If somebody is campaigning or in the name of the campaign slanders me, if I were a candidate, I would not really go to court to seek redress. So most of these things are there if we invoke them adequately. So I don't have any fears about that. And as happily, we feel flattered, I complimented that you all agree in the studio there that Edo is sophisticated. And it's not quite a boast. In September, Edo will express itself anew. You'll see new things here. And then they're talking about the quality of candidates and so on. Of course, if a particular political party is brought a person who is well practiced in the corporate world, another one is brought a sitting senator, another one is brought, I'm talking about the three dominant political parties now, I'm not discounting the others outright. Another one is brought a former bar chairman at the national level and so on. These are, you can say these are frontline candidates, and if Edo State is blessed to have these three candidates. The political parties had the responsibility to, and on that very day, we are going to make a choice. And this is not the first time we are having sterling characters as our candidates. You have been talking about Professor Osumbo and Adams Oshomola. Of course, people made their choice. People felt they were wrong. They went to court to correct it. Before that time, we also had a matchup between, even while we were still Bender, Samuel Bemuda and Ambrose Ali in 1983. And in the same 1979, Ambrose Ali and people like Demas Akpore and the rest of them. So it's our tradition here, and we're going to stick to the tradition, no deviation at all. The political parties themselves, they know what is at stake. They know what is at stake. They know that Edo voters read between the lines, and then they know that come September, Edo voters will actually choose the person they feel will best serve them. And the campaign so far, for me, I find the campaign encouraging. You always have the background of people saying things that are relevant, but the candidates themselves are speaking up. They are speaking up. They are talking about what they are going to do because, as we have said before, the election is about the future, not about the past. Even as sentiments from the past will flow forward to determine what people will do when they are casting their ballot. So just watch out. Edo will supply other examples to the country in September.
We are looking forward to Edo State setting the pace, for a new democratic experience for other states. And I do have a question for you, but I will implore you to still hang on while we just break out for some commercials. And when we come back, we'll return to you. All right, welcome back to the program, and it's Good Morning Nigeria. I'll just quickly take on Dr. Okunzwa again before we come back to the studio. Dr. Okunzwa, what are your thoughts about the process of mobilizing, the electorate for this election? And I'm asking this because it is a very fundamental factor in deciding, the outcome and who eventually wins this election. Because as you know, all the parties have the timber and caliber candidates, from the PDP to the APC to the LP and even to the AA. And two of the political candidates are from the same senatorial zone, which will mean that votes might be split. And when votes are split, that has a lot of consequences on the outcome of the election. So in terms of voter mobilization, what can you tell us about what's going on at the moment?
It is the responsibility of the political parties and their sympathizers to mobilize votes for their candidates or for the policy set of their respective political parties. And those who are well practiced in marketing have different modalities. You're going to use the television, that is the media generally. You are going to do door-to-door campaign. You are going to do rallies and so on. But we should never presume the outcome of any election. If we're able to presume the outcome of any election beyond scientific polling, it will mean our democracy is stunted. So let the political parties go far afield, persuade potential voters so that the voters will express themselves favorably to aid their standpoint. That's all we could say. And the two candidates coming from Edo Central, a lot of people believe that's a good thing. If it is generally shared as a sentiment that Edo Central has been excluded from 1999, apart from the brief period Professor Osumbo was in government, and then we now have two major options from Edo Central, then it means if we're going to toss the die might be cast in their favor in that regard. Two major political parties electing their candidates from there. So it means Edo State also believes in equity, and the people of Edo South have always remained a liberal majority. The people of Edo South have not used their population to monopolize their office. They have also seen people from Edo Central and Edo North as their authentic kinsmen, and the highest office available in the land is made available to them from time to time. Because that was actually what made Oshomole's emergence possible. The votes that ushered Oshomole into office came from Edo South, not even from Edo North, at least for his first term. So for me, I think it's a happy thing. The two candidates from Edo Central, the dominant candidates of the two political parties from Edo Central, I believe they are fit in terms of credentialing. One a top player in the corporate world, the other one is a sitting senator. That counts for him as well. So the campaign is for the political parties to embrace. They are to devise the strategies. They are to go out and persuade people to say this is actually what their respective political parties stand for. And on the day of the election, we should be hopeful that the voting public will cast a glance in their direction. But we should never presume the outcome of any election. If we do that, it will be a kind of detraction from the kind of democracy we want to uphold.
Dr. Kozua, thank you for that reminder, but we have not presumed the outcome of an election. We are only raising propositions, and these are propositions that can be either at the end of the day, affirmed or otherwise. And that is why we are saying, look, Mr. Mbahorike, there are big gladiators out there. And it is the strength of the mobilization of the political parties that will actually determine whether or not these people are able to raise, the needed vote strength to win the election.
Prior to the elections, we are observers. CDD is an observer. It is also a democratic observer. So we project, we analyze, we look at the political environment. For instance, ahead of this election, we have splitted election. I mean, there are 18 local governments in Edo, and I think about 195 wards in Edo. So we, for purpose of deployment, we also look at the dominant areas where more aspirants are based, where more political gladiators are, can be located, and the number of votes or PUs, in particular local governments. All of these are indicators that can give you a view of what is likely to happen. And we're also saying the fact that there are going to be two candidates in the central,
yes.
it has its own consequences or implications. Let me not call it consequences.
Yes, implications.
But the issue is, we also, so because there are the three major political parties have very prominent people as candidates, also is a big factor in this election. For us observers, we are particular about, after the voter registration, we begin to know how many people are going to vote in this election.
Exactly.
If we have, for instance, 5 million people, and about 18 people are contesting for this thing, you can imagine everybody will win a vote now.
Yeah, of course.
So the issue is, we are particular about a popular candidate emerging, so that we will hear such issues about 5%, 95%, that kind of stuff. So we want a popular outcome. And a candidate who emerges as a popular candidate, it gives him a psychological edge, to govern. If you look at the national election we did in 2023, I mean, how many people, is it not 8 million that the winner got, right? I mean, out of how many millions? It is not, you cannot call that a popular election. And people are aggrieved about it. So what we're saying in essence is, encourage as many people as possible to be eligible to vote. Sensitize people, speak to them, encourage them, so that they will be willing. Because like we said, I acknowledged, there are people who are also still aggrieved out of the last election. They need to be spoken to. You have to segment voters in such a way that different people need different kind of messaging.
Okay.
You understand? So you, as the one canvassing for votes, you say, look, this local government feels aggrieved for one reason or the other. You will develop a particular kind of message for them, address them, and make promises. And those promises must be CDD fact-checked politicians now. We're going to do that, intensify that. We monitor disinformation. We monitor hate speech. We monitor fake news. All of this. So there's no hiding place for politicians who want to play smart practices, who want to hold you to what you say. If you're also promising what you cannot do, we remind you that this is what you did. I mean, we did it during the Buhari period. We'll call it Buhari Mita or whatever. But because these people were never serious about their promises, you see that it's not something that you want to endure here. Our democracy is still developing. But I agree that this election is going to determined by a number of factors. You see, they may be happy that North Central suddenly have two candidates emerging from there. But we, watching from outside, we know what is best for this democracy. We must encourage people now to see as many as have registered to vote. Let the environment be enabling, encouraging enough for them to come. Women who are scared of violence, they must be guaranteed there's not going to be violence, and the security people must not be seen to be doing what we know them to do. They must placate the people. They must guarantee the people, look, there's not going to be violence. If there's any such thing, you must rise to the occasion. Just a few days ago, we read about some kind of incident in some parts of Edo State. I was thinking it has linkage to the election, but it's not. It's a different kind of issue.
It's isolated.
Exactly, it's an isolated incident.
Now that INEC has,
Okay.
Now that INEC has opened their continuous voter register, which it paves the way for so what should these political parties be doing at this moment?
Now, you see, the opportunity here now is for people who want to transfer. There are some people who are registered far from where they're supposed to be. This is an opportunity for them to do that. This is an opportunity for them to correct anything that has to do with their identity and all of that. This is an opportunity for even fresh people to also vote. But what INEC should do now is to, voter registration or continuous voter registration is supposed to be make it very conducive, very easy for people to do. You see, the issue is, in our own democracy, there are still people who are unwilling to exercise their franchise. You can actually speak to them to change their mind. That's why I like American situation. They can devote a lot of energy on few electorates, which can change a lot of things. So make it easier for people to vote. If normally best practices in voter registration is to take it to the people. Bring it closest to the people so that people will not travel far to do these things. And then when you say you are going to check people, stay there. If they said 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, you must remain there. I mean, we observed it. We have seen situations that are certain areas you go, you won't even see the people, and people will come waiting. they will not come at the right time. So the truth is, whatever needs to be done, both all the stakeholders, INEC has a serious role to play. Political parties cannot sit back and waiting to hit the government house just by fiat. It's not done like that. They must work for it. They must work on the people. Well. People must, you see, as we approach the election, there are people who will say, I'm going to vote for social party. Few days the election, they change their mind. This is what the campaign is supposed to enable. Should continue to work on the people to change their mindset, because not all the voters are card-carrying members of political parties. Some just want to look at, how principled candidates are, how tolerable are the politicians, or the political parties. Have you delivered before? Have you, do you keep your promises and all of that? The enlightened voters will continue to check always towards the election.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Amisu, let's bring you into the conversation again. Besides the sentiments of people coming from one place or the other, is our turn and all that, do you think the incumbency factor also is likely to affect this coming election? What's your take on that?
Well, the incumbency factor that we always mentioned is a clever way to hide the abuses that used to go with the election, simply because the man that is in the saddle has power and money to do a lot of things. Minus that, there is nothing like incumbency power or incumbent influence or whatever. It is about the people. It's about casting votes and counting the votes. It's as simple as that. If you perform and your performance is rubbing off on your party, then that is the incumbency power that I think you could use. But we use ours to manipulate the process, simply because we want somebody at all costs to be there, because we've done some bad things in the person that is coming in. If we allow the process to run freely, may not protect us. We can't just allow any outsider, that kind of a thing. So the person must remain within our political cycles. So and that is how we get ourselves to that mess. Well, we've seen some governors not returning because the process is beginning to catch up with them, and the people are resolute. They want to change them, and that is why it all depends on the people what they want. I don't want us to have this mindset that, if I vote, no. Vote. Let them rig the process and go to court and prove your case. We've seen, this is not the era of we've won, nothing can be proven, and then the person will continue, or the case will drag on till the person that is challenging the victory of the other man is dead before court will now pass a verdict that he won the election because he's dead, he cannot come to claim his mandate. Today, if you can prove your case in the court of law that, okay, I've been rigged out, then the court will restore your mandate. So it will not be easy. Those that are determined to frustrate the process are still much around. Those of us that want to correct the process must invest our time and energy to do our own part. Most of the governors that reclaimed their mandates in Nigeria were able to do that because the people voted them and they freely gave them that mandate. It was on that very particular foundation that they were able to approach the court to say, I've been done great injustice, and I want this injustice reversed, and then it was done. So if you say, okay, I'm not going out, because even if we vote the right person, they will not give it to this very particular person. You are just giving those people that are trying to frustrate our effort to reset our state and our nation the ample opportunity to do what they want to do. But if they know that the people are resolute, majority of these persons are cowards, I bet you. But because the people are afraid, they capitalize on your weakness and they continue to intimidate you. So for me, what we want to see in this country is that,
like we had in
do your own bit. If you are to go out to register, go out and register. If you are required to go and cast your ballot, go out and cast your ballot, so that at the end of it all, when the votes will be counted, yours will be among those that will decide the popular candidate that will emerge. And by so doing, the so-called incumbency factor will pale into insignificance. And we've seen it. Senators lost the election.
The role of political parties in this campaign now,
just
like he said, that like the question she asked, that registration of voters will start from next week, 27th of this month. Besides the INEC, sensitizing the people, what should be the role of political parties and the candidate themselves to encourage the people?
In fact, INEC is just doing the work of the political parties.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it all, INEC stand no benefit whether you register or you don't register. In fact, if you don't even register, you are reducing the number of people they are going to accredit on the day of election. So you are even reducing their job and what they need to do. So the work of every political party, if it will be where people decide who becomes what, political parties should even hire bosses and pay people to go and register, and then bring them back to their homes. Not even to
I don't want to take the words out of your mouth. We just want to ration the time so that both of you can have, before we go. You've just said what I was going to ask, and that is the method of the campaign. I know, apart from using the media, going to TV houses, putting your adverts, which we hear daily, and all that, I'm also wondering how effective will the door-to-door campaign method, because even in the last presidential election we saw that was greatly utilized, and that was probably part of what
influenced
before I so that, let me just chip in something on the incumbency.
Yes, in less than 2 minutes.
Okay. I was going to say, it works to the extent of the tendency to manipulate. I mean, you rightly said that. Otherwise, it doesn't play a lot. But this one you're talking about, that's the most effective way of campaigning. I mean, within the locality.
Yes.
I mean, mind you, we say there are 18 local governments, and all of these political parties are represented on all the 18 governments. The only thing is that they are too lazy to work for the votes. There is no amount of effort that is too little for you to get one single vote. You see, they believe over time that it's not necessarily by campaigning that you win votes. There are other shorter methods. And that's what we think we must police the environment to ensure that those other methods that are not legitimate are blocked, including both buying and selling. So I think we're going to see the environment, we're going to witness and watch the votes and see that people vote without being, compromised. So, but the issue is, going door to door works effectively. Unfortunately, they neglect it here because it involves footwork in some places, or spending money to make sure people go from one end to the other. Because just take it, if a political party approaches me physically or personally, I will have to opportunity to listen to the person, and then I will reserve my vote for you, because I know that there are not many of them who do the same thing. But unfortunately, they consider that a longer route, to winning votes, because they don't know what one vote can do or what it can change in the whole the outcome of the election. And that is to tell you, we keep saying that the people have to be at the center of the equation. Once you recognize that this is going to be determined but not by the current governor, not by anybody else, by the people who have votes. And the political parties are supposed to be bothered about how many people have picked their voters' card. And then, because when we did voter card distribution in Abuja, what we noticed was that people will come out willing. They don't know where to pick it. So the best you can even do is to even begin to say, if possible, mention the address of where it is happening, so that people will know. You understand? Tell people, work on the people to go particular areas. This is where many people go to wrong places, waste a whole day, and they will not pick their cards. If you can correct that, get the information is there, get it from INEC, begin to sensitize people on where to go and all of that. But I don't agree that political parties should carry buses and carry people, because this the whole process is supposed to be less partisan.
Okay, all right.
Just speak to people.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Okay, let's have a parting shots from you.
Well, at least a message for the Edo people.
Yes, what I would like to say is that governments will come and go. Edo State will remain Edo State. In Edo State is for Edo people. They should do whatever is in their interest especially in preserving the peace in Edo State. Because at the end of it all, most of us that we go to observe the election were visitors. Most of us that we tell them, go and do this, don't agree, we are all visitors. We don't have anything in Edo State to protect. So it is for Edo State, and Edo State people ought to protect Edo State for their own interests and their survival.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Amisu. Let's go to Dr. Okunzua now. Dr. Okunzua, can we have your parting shots in just 60 seconds?
Well, we thank NTA and the entire nation focusing on Edo. As I said a while ago, Edo will supply fresh examples to the nation. Edo can be a very useful laboratory come September 21st this very year.
Right, let me start with you, Dr. Osawaru Okonzwa. We really share in your optimism, and we will bring you back at the end of the election, of course, to review the process and the outcome. Many thanks to you for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Let me also appreciate Chibike Mbahorike, elections consultant, also for insightful contribution to our conversation this morning.
Pleasure to be here.
And Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Hamisu, political economist and public affairs analyst. Thank God I didn't call you Hamisu Rogo. Thank you. Thank you, as always. All right.
Well, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thanks for being with us. Join us same time, same station tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.
I'm Claire Labo Abdurrazak. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.